This one is just straight off the cuff, guys, talking about what it's like to live in the UK. I'm from the UK, I'm from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I live in Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm working full time for a bank, and I am earning only £19,200 a year after tax and national insurance. The average salary when I was born in 1987 was about £19,200. I am earning the average salary in 2024, almost 2025. I'm only earning the average salary in the UK in 1987. Yes. The average house price in 1987, the year I was born, was that. The average salary is that. Today in the UK, the average salary is this. And in the UK, the average house price is this.
Oh
I
my
looked at the
god.
figures earlier and I was absolutely shocked. So yes, old timers or the baby boomers in this country, they'll say, I worked a lot, and I paid for my house. But yeah, it was a lot easier to buy a house back in the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s, compared to what it's like nowadays. So I'm happy to be from Scotland. I had a very nice upbringing, free education. We have kind of a good free healthcare system. It's not really free. It used to be a lot better than what it is today. But yes, the point of this video today is to explain why I've decided to leave the UK.
Good decision.
It's not affordable here. If you want a high standard lifestyle, if you want to live by yourself, have a car, work full time but for not too long, if you want to retire early, the UK is not the place. It's ridiculously expensive here.
It is.
The average salaries now is this. Again, like, that is not enough. That is not enough for people to live a high standard lifestyle in what's supposed to be a first world country. This is not a first world country. This is a dystopia pretending to be a first world country that has a very low standard. The crime rate's getting higher. Illegal immigration or illegal migration, whatever you want to call it, is getting higher. We have politicians that don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to fix anything. They just make things worse. We have a prime minister in office now who just exacerbates all the issues that we've got, doesn't bother to actually address them and fix them, just makes them worse. There is no hope for this country, the UK. This place is done. This place, the UK, doesn't matter where, Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, this is not an up-and-coming country. The UK has had its glory days. It's had its highs. Probably the best time in this country to be a working adult was probably when I was born in the 80s and the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s. But as things are now, with the cost of living and all the issues that we are facing here, it doesn't matter if you're British or not, if you're living here in the UK and if you're working here full time, you already know what I'm talking about. And it's really important that you know, well, for me, I'm not going to just continue living and working in the UK, earning what I earn, paying what I'm paying for rent, groceries, bills, you name it. The prices are going up for everything. I love driving. I have a driving license. I don't have a car. Why? Well, because I live in the city. I don't really need a car. But it would be really nice to have a car. If I got a car, I would have to pay, well, for the car, for the insurance, for the road tax, for the maintenance, and I don't even have a parking space, so I would have to pay for a parking permit. So excluding the car, that's 4 big payments I need to make every year. So for me, based on the salary that I'm earning, I cannot afford to live in the city by myself and have a car and have a high standard lifestyle. For example, going to the gym, doing activities, everything costs money, right? So what does that leave one to do? Yes, we need money. Some people don't need to work, and that's great for them, but if you're like me, you need to earn a living. You need to go out and earn money to pay for your life. Now, when you're working, you shouldn't be working just to survive. If you can excuse me, I'm a bit slow in this video. I'm just shocked at what I've been seeing recently. One should not be working full-time in what's supposed to be a first world country just to survive. Most people that work in this country, they cannot even save money.
We can't.
So after you've paid your rent and your bills and all your fees, even if you've made cuts, for example, you've decided to stop paying for Disney Plus or Netflix or something like that, even if you're just paying for the necessities, even after paying for those, you have literally nothing left to enjoy. Now, whose fault is this? For what's become of this country with the cost of living? I'm not going to point fingers and point at one person, of course. Is it the government's fault? It may not be the government's fault for everything, but they are in a position to fix these issues. They don't need to magically make these issues disappear, but they need to at least help people. Recently, in the UK, they have took away a certain benefit from a certain group of people who are pensioners with disabilities. And this benefit that the UK government has taken from them is heat. So you've got old pensioners with disabilities who don't earn a lot. They're on state pension. They've been unable to work and save a lot of money for their pension. They may not have private pension. They have what they have. And winter is coming here in the UK. And winter is long. And winter is very cold. And people need heat. These people need heat in their homes. The government have taken it away. They've decided to make cuts, and they've chose to take away this benefit where they provide funding for heating these people's homes during the winter, and they're not getting it anymore. That is not a government I want to pay tax to. The amount of tax that we pay in the UK is quite high.
It's
Quite high, even compared
Very.
to other countries like Australia and the USA. I'm taxed 20%, that's income tax, 20%. So for every £100 I earn, they take £20 away. Plus national insurance, which is basically, if you're American, national insurance is like your social security. So I pay about 7% national insurance, so that's 27%. So they take £27 for every £100 that I earn. So when you add it all up, it's quite a lot. So when I'm looking at my paycheck and I look at how much they've taken, that's quite a substantial figure. That is an amount of money that I could actually do something with. Now, I don't mind paying tax, but at rates that high, it's quite concerning, especially when you're living in a country where they're making cuts like taking vulnerable people's heating away. So, the UK is going downhill. This is not a good country to live in. It's not a good country to actually grow up in and work. The best thing you can do, if you're British, born here, schooled here, if you're young and working, especially if you're ambitious and adventurous, the best thing you can do is get out of the UK. Now, I know what it's like to live in other countries because I have lived in other countries. I've lived in Japan for about almost 9 years. I have lived in the USA as well for a short time. But because I've spent a lot of my life in Japan, things are not perfect. No country is perfect, absolutely not. Japan is not perfect. But if I compare Japan to the UK when it comes to standard of living and how much you can earn and what they deduct from your paycheck. When I was working in Japan, they deducted about 10% income tax. That's half of what I pay. And I was earning more actually at the time. So I was making a lot of money in Japan. Healthcare is not free there, but the healthcare system is very good. You're not waiting months to see a doctor in Japan. You are paying probably about £100 to £200 per month on health insurance, but you are getting top quality healthcare quickly when you need it. Not only that, the standard of life in Japan is far higher than that of the UK when it comes to safety, when it comes to cleanliness of the streets. I'm not saying their government is perfect, but they make a lot of good decisions that make sense. Their infrastructure is incredible. They have low prices for food and eating out. So a lot of people eat out in Japan, like almost every day. It's very common for people to just go to a nice restaurant, eat some nice food. There's all different kinds of restaurants there. Not in the UK, no. If you're eating out every day in the UK, you must be rich. Because going to a restaurant here in the UK will cost you, if you're just ordering one main with a side and a drink, that's going to cost you about £40, about $50.
Even
and
more.
they add a 10% service fee. Yeah, so
Even
you're paying
more.
about £44, about $54 by yourself to eat. In Japan, you can eat good food at a nice restaurant for less than half that. I remember literally paying about £8 for dining in a restaurant in Japan, and that's including a drink. Yeah, so going out to eat out doesn't break the bank in Japan. It does here though. So what does that leave you to do? That just leaves you to go to the supermarket a lot, cook. I like cooking, but it's just nice to eat out sometimes, you know, especially if you're working long hours. If you've made it to this part of the video, then thank you for staying tuned. I mean, it's almost 16 minutes now in this video. I am leaving the UK soon. I'm quitting my job. I appreciate the good things about this country, I really do. But the way I see it, this country is not getting better. Everything's getting more expensive. The government does not care about people at all in this country. They do not care about the rising electric bills, the rising gas bills. They're probably going to increase the tax, national insurance pretty soon. They're reducing benefits that people need, not that people want, but there are people in this country that seriously need these benefits, and they're being stripped away. Now, another thing that of course is no one's fault, but the UK doesn't exactly have the best weather. And that's quite a big thing for me. So when you look outside and it's a low, grey, thick sky and it's cold and it's wet, it doesn't really make you feel happy. And if I'm going to live in an expensive country, the weather better be nice. Seriously, I'm not going to settle for living in an expensive country where the weather is shit most of the year. So, if you want to follow my channel and see where I go, then hit the subscribe button, like this video if you enjoyed it, if it entertained you. But if you are also living in the UK and working in the UK, comment what you think of what it's like. And we all got to just stay strong, but I don't want to just keep surviving in this country. I'm not working to survive. I want to live to thrive. And only you can save yourself. Think about that.
Particulars of being in Britain. Like, we could really quite play that up. If we were proud of being British and proud of our heritage, we would play that up a bit and make it appealing to those people who liked Harry Potter, basically. And we'd be able to attract talent, entrepreneurialism, things like that. But we just don't do any of that. We're not proud of any of our achievements. We're not proud of our history. We're not proud of ourselves. And we're just in this unbelievable slump at the moment. I just can't get over why we're just allowing this to happen. It's not necessary, but the decline is a choice.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I would like to welcome you back to the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. I am once again in my home country of the UK. So whenever I'm in the UK, I need to talk to this man because he is a brilliant mind and he is definitely representing the UK. And this is Carl Benjamin.
Thank you very much. That was a very kind interview.
No
intro. I'm really well, even though the country's falling apart. I'm doing great, so that's good in a way.
When you say the country's falling apart, what do you mean?
Oh, it really is. Take a walk down the average high street in the country and you'll notice that half the shops are boarded up and the other half are Turkish barbers and vape shops. The town centres of this country are just decaying, actively decaying. Everything looks like it's getting worse and everyone feels it, I think.
You're born and raised in the UK.
Yes, right? I'm born in the UK. When I was 3, my dad was in the RAF, so we spent.
I remember.
I spent a total of 8 years living on British camps in Germany, but then came back to the UK when I was 17, I think. But we were back and forth basically. So like, for the first 3 years of my life in the UK, then 3 years out in Germany, then 10 years back in the UK, then 5 years back in Germany, then back. But the thing is, you're not really living in Germany when you're living on the British camp in Germany. Everything's in English. We use pounds. Or, do we use pounds? No, I think we use marks actually. Just convenience. But it looks like a part of England has been transplanted into Germany, and it's run by English law and things like that. So it's a proper colony. It's out there, and that's one of the reasons I'm so concerned about mass immigration now, is because you can see colonies springing up in England of foreign cultures, and I recognise it when I see it. So it really bothers me. We're allowing this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is an issue that you've been concerned about for ever since you came into the public eye as Sargon Avocad with the YouTube channel. And it seems like the trajectory is just continuing in the same direction. And it's not just you. I find that so many people in this nation, from family members to friends to acquaintances. Firstly, I know a lot of people who have left in the past 5 years or so, including myself. I left 3 years ago. And more people that I know are planning to leave. Some are planning to stay. But it feels like a massive shame, because for so much of history, I mean, the UK or its separate entities, England, Scotland, these are countries with a massive history. And the UK has always been one of those countries, for at least during our lives, and certainly before it, where so many people from around the world have moved here and want to move here. And obviously still a lot of people do want to move here. But at the same time, there's this decay and there's this widespread pessimism where people feel like the future is going to be worse than the present and the past. So number one, what does that look like? And number two, what can be done about it?
That's a big question. Well, it looks like what we're experiencing now. It looks like people who are capable, upwardly mobile, intelligent, good earners leaving. We get hundreds of millionaires leaving the UK every year.
I saw 15,000 predicted to leave this year. 15,000 millionaires.
This year?
15,000.
I didn't realise it was that high. I knew it was high, but I didn't realise it was that high. Yep. Oh, God. And so that in and of itself is terrible. But then we have what is essentially a socialist government in the Labour Party. And so they look on enviously at anyone who has success and wealth and want to tax them into oblivion, thinking that they're going to be able to pay for the public spending programs that we are saddled with and are not allowed to challenge. You'll notice that whenever they say, oh, there's a huge hole in the finances, they never say that means we're going to spend less. That means we're going to tax more, because we have to pay for all of these things. And it's bankrupting us. It's driving the country into a hole. And Britain, since the latter half of the 20th century, with the loss of the empire,